doing a research and you end up with some insignificant results, or you may feel some difficulty to proceed further. So identification of a research topic your university is expecting. So that once you are clear, then we'll move on to the next step, that is understanding exactly what your university expects from your research. Some significant results, you may feel some difficulty to proceed further. Dear participants, so identification of a research topic, disable annotations. So first, once you have the basic understanding of a research process, so then the second step is understand what exactly your university expects from your universities. So that is mainly so that once you are clear, then we move on to what are the university requirements in terms of understanding exactly what your university expects from your restrictions and which areas you need significant results, you need to focus some difficulty such restrictions to proceed further. So identification of a research topics you disable the universities are primarily looking for primary research, secondary research, or combination. And the second one is a methodology next methodology requirements. First, once you have the basic understanding of a research, it is quantitative, then the second step is understand what exactly your university expects from your universities. So that is mainly so that once you are clear, then we move on to the university requirements in terms of understanding exactly what your university expects from your restrictions and which areas you need significant results, you need to focus some difficulty such restriction to proceed further. So identification of a research topics you disable the universities are primarily looking for primary research, secondary research, or combination. And the second one is a methodology next methodology requirements. First, once you have the basic understanding of a research, it is quantitative, then the second step is understand what exactly your university expects from your universities. So that is mainly so that once you are clear, then we move on to the university requirements in terms of understanding exactly what your university expects from your restrictions and which areas you need significant results, you need to focus. Dear participants, now my voice is loud and clear. Please confirm in chat window that my voice is loud and clear.
Sir, voice is now clear. Chiranjeevi sir. Now it is clear.
Thank you, sir. And the second one is a methodology next. Okay, thank you. So the first once you have the basic understanding of a research, it is quantitative, then the second step is understand what exactly your university expects from your universities. So that is mainly so that once you are clear, then we move on to the university requirements in terms of understanding exactly what your university expects from your restrictions and which areas you need significant results and you need to focus. Dear participants, now my voice is loud and clear. Please confirm in chat window that my voice is loud and clear.
Sir, voice is now clear. Chiranjeevi sir. Now it is clear.
Thank you, sir. And the second one is a methodology requirement. Okay, thank you. So the first thing is you have the basic understanding of what research it is quantitative, then the second step is understanding what exactly you are doing the research from your universities. So that is mainly so that once you are clear, broad research areas that you're really interested in, and you can narrow down to the specific area. So that is a process we are going to identify at this step. So choose a subject area that interests you and that will interest to readers. So that should be an academic context, right? So make a list of those broad interest areas. Once you identify, suppose if you are teaching some database management system, and the subject is a broad area, and then and go for example in a normalization process or any other subtopics, those are a subset of your subject, and that could be treated as a narrow area in our subject. Broad research areas, the interest areas you need to be areas that are intellectually appealing you, narrow down that to you have a curiosity area. So mainly a process about not going you have some sort of emotional step, right? So don't take area consider if you have some sort of emotional charge or some sort of attachment, an academic context, sort of right? So make a list of those broad. So it is important to choose a topic that is academic in the nature. Some database something that people will be doing. The subject is a broad area, and then so in other words, pick a topic that has an normalization make an argument. Or any other identify a research subset of your subject, and you need to have an argument why the previous existing research is narrow area in our subject. So you need to research interest areas, valid arguments that are important and can narrow down to have a curiosity mainly. A process about not going to have mainly while identifying the broad research subject area. Consider if you need to sort of emotional think about one is a sort of an academic context. Suppose if you are working on a list of those broad, so it is important to choose academic in the nature. Something that people will worry about. This is a broad area, and in other words, so pick a topic that has an normalization make an argument. Any other identify a research subset of your subject. You need to have an argument why the previous existing research is narrow areas in our subject. You need to the second one is valid arguments that are important and narrow down that will have a curiosity mainly process matters. You have mainly while identifying the broad research subject areas, things you need to sort of emotional think about. One is a sort of attachment. Suppose if you are working on a list of broad, it is important to identify something that people will worry about. Right, broad area. And the board, so next topic that has an normalization, have a any other subset of your you have an argument why you identify more previous existing areas, narrow areas. So you need to second areas, valid arguments, have a curiosity mainly process matters. You have mainly while identifying the broad don't take what kind of think about one is a sort of attachment. Suppose if you are working on a list of broad have a curiosity mainly process matters. You have mainly while identifying the broad don't take kind of think about the sort of attachment that is library learn many things like that. But the new knowledge that you have to acquire based on the current knowledge. Next, get into the literature, understand what does the literature say about areas of interest. So ultimately what you are looking for is to find out the gaps. What are the gaps, research gaps? So because those will be the ideal topics for your research area. So when using a databases, you cannot type a sentences or a questions in the search box, right? So once you identify a nice subtopics from the broad areas, then you have to find out. You have to find out keywords and the synonyms also, and to search for information related to that particular topic. So when using a database, you cannot type a sentence or a question in the search box like you can on the internet. We suppose if you want to find out what is a data mining, we'll type entire question like what is a data mining, right? So you can't search like that in a research process identifying the literature, and you have to first identify the keywords mainly which best describes your area. So then and also find out the synonyms. So then try to find out the information based on that keywords. So you have to search using these keywords. So how do you know what keywords to search? And language so that is very important. So there is generally more than one way to express an idea or a concept. So let us say you are looking for information on a woman and the sports. So you can specifically want to explore whether a sports participation has effect on one's self-esteem or not. So then what are the words you use to convey this multifaceted concepts? So that is when starting to search a topic, you pick some possible keywords, a significant word or a phrase, so that would express your topic, and create a list of synonyms, so that gives a similar meaning, words that can be interchanged in the same context for those keywords. So based on these keywords and synonyms, like for example, if I wanted to pick keywords for my topic of women and the effect of sports on their esteem, I would pick out the main concepts and use them as a keywords, and then try to pick out a synonyms, one synonym or two, etc. So for example, women and sports, you can search based on the two keywords, women and sports, or you can replace a woman with the girls, and you can also replace a woman with the females, and try to find out a number of articles available for each search, whether you have a sufficient literature exist in the database or not. So that you have to confirm by performing this kind of search. Next, so once you collect all the information based on the keywords, the next step is identify a specific research topic and research questions using mainly three techniques. That is, first, further research section. In any article, in few articles, authors might discuss further research, future research. What are the research gaps they identified? What are the potential research areas those are identified? They might discuss those ideas or those issues in their future research section. So that is the best way to start without doing lot of work. So if you are able to find out a suitable research problem in that section, and that is fine. The one otherwise, and you have to decide whether that solution, and you are able to answer that question or not. You have to question yourself, right? So that otherwise it is a difficult to proceed further. So that is first point is the start from this future research section. You can read a few articles. In some articles, the authors might discuss what are the future research areas. So that is a starting point of your research. Next, second one is assess whether the existing research is relevant and suitable with a specific context. So that is, you can change the context, like, so whether that the existing research is relevant to the suitable present context or not. You can question yourself and you can change accordingly, and that we'll discuss in a couple of slides, or how to change the different contexts, right? That is a second technique, that is assess whether the existing research is relevant and suitable within a specific context. So next is the third technique that you can follow is a sit down and you can brainstorm you can map just a bunch of potential directions and come up with a stack of ideas. So that is another technique. Here you need to spend a lot of time, use amount of time to brainstorm and to mind mapping all the ideas and to come up with a bunch of ideas, a stack of ideas. So that is another technique you could follow. So these are the three techniques. So you can work on this. Then the third next one is, so many times your search will lead to the many or a few records. Suppose if you perform a search based on the women and the sports, so you may find very few articles, only a few information, right? So if you get too many hits, you may need to narrow your focus. You can narrow your topic by adding some additional restrictions, like some of the ways in which a topic can be narrowed or limiting to a particular time period, like for example 21st centuries or like that. And the scientific population or a group, like you can focus teenagers or you can focus another segment of groups. And the third one is a geographic region, example southwest Latin America. So you can change from one region to another. That is in second technique. That is a second technique, that is to assess whether the current the research is suitable for the current context or not. So next next specific disciplines are focus, such as legal, economical, or historical, right? So like that you can narrow down your research topic or broaden your research topic further. If you get too few hits, you may need to broaden your topics, right? If you're getting very little information, I think that the topic you are looking for, that might have some very few literature. In that case, the available literature may not be sufficient enough to continue. So in that case, you can broaden your focus. So you can broaden your topic by choosing a less specific or alternative time periods or populations, geographic areas, or disciplines. So you can also broaden a topic by choosing more general term, that is performance enhancing, and you can change the drugs rather than some steroids, like that, right? So these are the approaches you can follow, right, to to get the research questions, right? That is using the second approach. And once you find all the information, and once you got a literature, once you hit a literature, then we have to evaluate whether that is worthy or not, whether it is relevant to our research or not. So that is, evaluate each potential topic against a 7 uh, main important criteria, and finally make a decision. So what are those key criteria, and let us look at all those criteria. The first one is originality. Is it unique enough for your problem, whether it is a original problem or not? That you have to find an answer for this question. The second one is whether it is important. Is it worth researching or answering this question, right? Whatever the questions you framed in the previous step, you need to answer whether it is a valid research question or not. So you have to answer all these aspects, like originality, importance. Next, literature base. Is there enough literature to build on, right? So next one is a data access. Literature means the previous the articles, the articles or dissertations, right? So if you have a efficient sufficient information of the literature base, then you can move further. Next one is a data access. You can get access to the data you need. Suppose the research is done on a benchmark data set, whether it is possible to obtain that data set or not. So that question also you need to answer yourself. Second one is, next one is the resources. What are the resources you need? For example, you are working on a big data environment, so you need some a cluster configuration, whether your university is having that facility, whether you have that facility, whether you have that resources to access. And some other additional resources also, like a budget, cash budget, right? So that you have to answer. The next one is a data collection. Are you able to are willing to collect the data? That is like a questionnaire is. Are you have that much skill to collect the data? That question also you need to answer. Next, are you have the skill to analyze the data correctly and to test, like for example, whether the data is suitable for your research and what are the issues in that data. Suppose if you like that, and there are many questions you need to answer and you need to analyze the data before going to proceed. Next one, the finally, that is an important is the personal attraction, whether you are really interested to work on that particular area. That matters a lot, right? So once, suppose otherwise, if you are not having an much interest, if you identified a topic, right, that is, suppose that is not a fair, that is not a good topic as a best topic, then you'll end up with wrong solutions, or you may face some difficulties to move further. So if you are able to choose the right topic, and you can progress your research very smoothly, very fastly. Otherwise, and your research progress will becomes very slow, very slow. So once you identify a best research topic, then your research progress is very fast. Then you can enjoy doing the research. So next, once you have gathered, and once you analyze the quality, whatever the first one, we identified a broad topic. Then we have identified the different subtopics or the nice areas in that broad area. Then we collected the information. Then we validated that information. Then we come up with different topics. Like for example, if you choose two broad topics, then from each broad topic, and bring at least 5 topics in that you feel much interesting. So then from that topics, then you have to evaluate those 5 topics which are belongs to each broad area. So based on the previous step, evaluation, how you are going to evaluate those topics, right? So once you choose the topic, narrow topic, then you have to evaluate based on these criteria, what is originality, whether it is importance, whether you have a data access, whether you have a resources, whether it is possible to data connect, etc. Everything. So then you sort out and pick up top 3 interesting topics, then and write down about what for each topic, write down what is the objective and how you are going to implement, why it is important. You need to address this. You need to write at least one sentence or one statement for each question. So then, and again, another important thing is you need to just forward to your friends or the researchers who are already working on that particular areas, and take their feedback. So that is the feedback in terms of which topic is their favorite topic, why do they like that specific topic, what challenges did they foresee, right? So to understand the layman perspective, you could also forward this the identified research topics and the questions you framed. What is this topic, why it is important, right? How you are going to implement that. And if you forward to this your friends or colleagues, and you may get some you may get a feedback from them also, like in a layman perspective. So that is the way of identifying the research topic, right? So let us summarize what are the steps before going to move on to the next. We discussed the 7 steps mainly. The first step is identifying the broad interesting area. Suppose I'm interested to work in a big data or a data science. Let us choose a data science as a broad area. Then narrow down until you get a specific or a nice area. Like data science, again, I want to work on machine learning. Again, machine learning supervised, unsupervised, there are 2 categories. Again, supervised. Again, what are the classification? There are different classification techniques in supervised learning. Again, I want to work on Ivy base. Like that, you have to narrow down until we get a nice topic, right? So then, and you have to find out whether that you have to find out the information that is by looking at different sections of the thesis or articles which are available in the database or online, and you can collect the information. You can justify whether it is the whether that information is valuable or not, and you can use a different techniques like future research section. You can look at in some different articles, or you can assess whether that particular problem solution is relevant to the present context or not. And then finally you can brainstorm, you can sit and you can start working on the problems. You can raise the questions and you can come up with the questions, and you can come up with a different stack of ideas, then finally and go for further. So that is a next step. So then we have to validate when we have to validate the topics, and based on the different criteria, then finally and you write what is the topic and why how what is the importance of that topic, what are the challenges in that topic, why it is important, and that what is the importance, what is the use of the topic for the society, that you can frame it and you can share with your friends and get the feedback. That is the way of identifying the one best way of identifying a research topic. So once you identify the research topic, then you have to start working, and you have to start working on the problem. Then once you find a solution, once you got a sufficient evidence for your argument, so then you have to start writing your paper, and you have to communicate to the journal. So before going to communicate to the journal, we need to understand to which journal I need to communicate, right? What are the suitable journals? Those are matched with our topic or research area. You have to identify, right? So before let us try to understand what are the general metrics we need to concentrate to identify which is the best journal, which is a suitable journal for us, right? So there are different metrics we use to measure the quality of a journals, like impact factor. We are all know about impact factor. The second one is eigen factor, that is article influence score, and SCI Mango journal rank. So these are some journal metrics we use, and to judge whether it is a good journal or not, and whether it is a highly ranked journal or not. So before you can also need to be familiar with some terminologies like what is a journal indexing, what is a citation, citable articles, what is a self citations, etc. So that also you need to know before going to start understand what are the high quality journals. The first thing is mainly journal impact factor. How they are going to calculate the journal impact factor? They calculate the total journal impact factor, that is the last 2 years impact factor, 5 years number of times its articles were cited during the 2 previous years. If it is a 2 years impact factor, then that divided by the total number of citable articles in the journal during those 2 years. Like suppose if you submitted, suppose if your article is published in 2015, then you have to look at 2016 and 2017. What are the citations? How many citations? How many publications? Then you can finally come to find out what is an impact factor for that particular journal. That is average number of citations for each article in that particular journal. So based on that, you can also decide whether it is a good journal or not. And there are some other factors also, like for example, whether it is a science citation indexed journal or not. If so, then what is the impact factor of that journal? Even the science citation index journals also have very low impact factor, that is like a 0. So 0.04, like 0.1, 0.2, like that. So even though they have a very low impact factor, those are science citation index journals, those are good journals. So my suggestion is for new to the research who want to publish the first paper, and you better option first go first choose a journal which has a low impact factor, good journal, and some low impact factor, and there are some possibilities to accept to publish your article if your article has the strong background of the good research, whether it is a work or not. Next one is eigen factor, that is also mainly based on the impact factor, and it is also uses two other factors like a weightage and robust algorithms to find out the citations over the subsequent years. Then another one is article influence score. It is derived from again the eigen factor score, and this is also you can look at, and while checking the journals, whether it is a good journal, if so then what is the rank of that journal, then SCI Mango journal, and it is very similar to the eigen factor, and it relies on the concept of weightage that is we discussed above. The main difference is that eigen factor determines widely read journals. So based on the data from the Institute for Scientific Information, that is Web of Sciences, etc. Next one is source normalized impact for paper, and this is another metric you can also focus on that. And for example, in this here, the major difference between this is a citation from an article with 100 references will count for less than a citation from an article with only 20 references. So that is mainly because of a normalized impact factor for this year. Next, once you are ready with your manuscript is ready, and if you want to submit for a review, a peer review, and there are some steps we need to understand how the review process is going, right? How the process is done, that you have to understand here the mainly before going to submit your journal to your suppose your manuscript to your journal. What are the standard, what are the instructions, what are the format guidelines of that journal you need to follow to prepare your manuscript. So once you prepare your manuscript by following that guidelines, then you can submit to the editor. Then the editor will do the assignment, will identify the reviewers, then they'll assign your manuscript to the reviewers. They possibly they may choose either 3 or more reviewers. They'll assign your manuscript to those reviewers. So they may give some amount of time like 45 days, and to to get back with their comments. So then the peer review process, author submits amendment. Suppose the manuscript, suppose many manuscripts, right, many papers may not be accepted directly as it is. So you need to do some kind of revisions, so that if the editor recommends a revision, then you have to work on that. You have to check. We have to work on the comments given by the reviewers. Then you have to resubmit your paper for further process. So let us see one by one. Here, mainly there is reviewers mainly focus on these 6 concepts while reviewing your article, mainly whether it is matching with on-site general topics, and advocate formatting, whether you follow the formatting guidelines or not. Next, originality, innovation, and importance of the study, whether it is really, because if you are a good researcher, if you are a reputed researcher, it is very easy to identify whether that particular paper is worth enough, how much time the others spend, that you can judge very easily if you are a reputed researcher. So they can easily, because the editor is going to send your article to the reviewers who are working on the same interest, so who are having the same competencies. So they can easily just judge your paper whether it is worth enough, whether it is a 3 months work, whether it is a 6 months work, like that. So they can decide then further a review process need to be done or not. So next one is organization readability and English language, how you organized your paper, whether it is readable, right? And then the English language. Next one is the literature review, consistency and relevance, whether you covered the sufficient literature or not, whether you missed some references or not, that also they'll identify. And if you suppose if you try to incorporate the many existing literatures as more relevant literatures, then in that case your paper might get be rejected, declined, because you fail to include the much references in your paper. So if if you miss one or more references, that may not be a problem. So you will get a comment as a comment from the reviewer, like please incorporate these references also, like that. The next one is the study conclusions, then final conclusions, limitations, what are the limitations you discussed in your paper, and further research directions, as we discussed in the identification step, right? Identification, the research topic identification step. So you can start with future directions, right? Because some authors, they discuss their future research directions, or what are the research gaps in their future that is future research section. So that is also useful for us to identify exactly what is the issue, what are the issues those are not yet addressed, right? Next to last one is study design, methods, analysis and findings. So these are all they focus, reviewers will focus on all these aspects while reviewing your paper. First one is manuscript submission, the review the submission process. So first thing is why we need to, so don't blindly submit a journal to your manuscript to your journal without looking at a scope of whether it is matching with your research area or not. If you are, then you will immediately get rejected your paper without further review process. So please focus whether when you have to look at whether the journal scope is matching with your topic, a research topic or not. So that is the first thing you need to do before going to decide to submit. Next one is what are the formatting guidelines. Sometimes few journals may ask you, there are some limitations like number of pages in your research article. Like suppose if you are writing a literature review, then you at least minimum 15 or 20 pages manuscript you need to submit. Like that, there are some guidelines you need to follow to journal. Next one is submitting your manuscript online by providing a complete detail in online submission system. You need to, like for example, IEEE Explorers or some other, there are some online systems. So you need to register yourself with your email ID and details. And there, once you have to submit the paper record, and you need to follow the guidelines. Like for example, they may ask you to upload entire paper, or they may ask you to upload a PDF version. They may ask you to upload separate images or any other supporting materials, like that. So you have to follow thoroughly and to submit online submission, right? And one more important thing you need to remember, that is, don't submit manuscript to more than one journal at the same time. That is not ethical. That is not a right option, right? So sometimes your manuscripts may be rejected because of this reason. Then your chances of submitting that your manuscript to that journal may be closed. Your door will be closed, right? You are not allowed to submit in the future, right? So please don't submit our manuscript, the same manuscript, to more than one journal at the same time. First submit to the one journal, then let us wait for the review, and then once you got a positive, then okay. Otherwise, if you got if your paper rejected, then revise your paper and spend some time on that, and revise fine, and you can submit a revised version as a new manuscript to that particular journal. So once you submit your paper, and that will the editor will initiate the peer review process. That is a blind review. Like for example, blind review. That means the reviewers who are reviewing your paper, they may not know uh, the other details, and also the authors also may not know who are reviewing their paper also. That is a blind two-side blind review. And another one is some journal and few journals might ask you to give you a reference, the name of reviewers list they may ask you. So that is the different journals, they may follow the different guidelines, right? So once the editor will initiate the peer process for well formatted manuscripts, so within the scope of a journal, then the main thing is you need to keep a patience and wait for a reply from editor during the review process. Don't try to write a queries, try to ask a queries, or try to send emails to the editor, right? So because you have to wait, and you have to wait for the complete process. They may take a 2 months, or 2 months, or 45 days, or 3 months, and you have to keep patiently wait for the reply from the editor during the review process. If you try to get a uh, uh, if you try to send a request or the mails to the editors regarding your review process, that leads to the different opinions on you. So you please don't show your anxiety of publications, right, to the reviewers or editors. So that may leads to some different conclusions, or the final they may going to reject your paper in some context. Next one is a decision. Once the review is completed, then the reviewers might communicate their recommendations or review comments to the editor. So they send a comments which are useful to the authors, and they may also send a few comments. Those are hidden to the authors. That is, maybe that might be useful to the editors to decide to make a decision on your manuscript. So you will get a response like a decision, like a revision required, like a major revision, minor revision. Like minor revision, you need to spend a little amount of time to revise your manuscript. Else, if it is a major revision, you need to spend some more amount of time again to come up with a new version. Next one is a decline. Look at your manuscript and the decline reasons, right? So your paper might get rejected because of many reasons. So one of this is insufficient arguments, or insufficient results, or insufficient research. There might be many reasons, right? So, and you take the positively, and look at what are their suggestions or the comments, and spend plenty of time to improve your overall manuscript, and resubmit as a fresh manuscript. Next, the another important one is mainly in a review process, you need to have a more patience. That is very important thing. Mainly that is a dealing reviews comments. If you want to go further, you can we can read up a article that is published in 2004 by Williams, that is Williams, and you can understand what are the different perspectives of the reviewers, then how to reply, how to respond to their comments, how to write responses to their comments, then you will understand much better. So apply the three golden rules mainly: answer completely, answer politely, answer with evidence. So that is dealing with the reviewers' comments. Because suppose if you got a revision, if you got a decision like a minus revision, and the editor might ask you to submit your revised manuscript within 2 months, right? Suppose, and you are not so you don't want to wait 2 months, and right, and you are thinking that if once you work on that problem, if you submit as immediately, then you might get a acceptance, right? So don't think in that perspective. Sometimes that leads to the different conclusions on your paper, that the reviewers may may get some different opinion on you, like, because that shows your anxiety of publication, right? That I think they'll understand you might be looking for publishing your paper rather than the quality paper, right? So in that context, in that perspective, simply they'll reject your paper. Like for example, my friend got a review and the editor asked him to submit a revision within 2 months, right? So you have to work at least 1.5 months, or at least if you need really the 2 months, you can spend 2 months, or you need more amount of time, you can also request the editor to spend more amount of time. So that is nice. But otherwise, if you got a response today, and if the review, the editor is asked you to take a 2 months, and you just took only 1 day or 1 week, then if you immediately submit it, if you are not able to rectify what are the comments, what are the issues addressed by the reviewers, then that leads, then immediately your paper get rejected, right? So you please spend a huge amount of time, sufficient amount of time, try to answer completely, or answer politely, mainly answer with evidence, everything, right? Even if you have a single typo also, and then your paper get rejected, right? So that you need to understand the different perspective, what, because we are all human being, we have some sort of ego. So next, finally, once you got acceptance, right? So now it is time to celebrate your manuscript that will be accepted. Then you are happy. But once your paper is not accepted, that means if you got revision or minor revision, that is not a problem. But if your paper is rejected, then you need to accept it positively, right? You have to control your emotions, because you might have worked on that problem more than 6 months or 1 year. So in that perspective, you have to look at whether their comments are real, whether the reviewer comments are really useful. Then you can decide, and you try to and start working on, and you can submit the fresh version to another journal or the same journal, right? So this is the thing we need to focus mainly. That is first. So once your paper accepted, then you'll see, right? Like the details, like when the paper is received, like 27th August 2016, and the revised date is 7 September 2017. Accepted date is to the 27 May, right? 2018, right? So there is no specific time limit, right? Suppose I want to publish my paper in a month, I want to publish a paper in a year, I want to publish a paper in a 2 years, like that we can't decide, right? So even the strong others also, their papers are also published even after 2 years, even 3 years, 1.5 year, like that, right? So don't put the targets, right? So you just start working on the content, focus on the content, whether you are able to address all the issues, whether you are justify, whether you have an argument for your research question, whether you address, whether you answered that properly, whether you followed the systematic approach to do this research, and that you have to focus, right? So once you have done all this, once you followed all these things, and there is a lot of chances that your paper will definitely get published or accepted with minor revisions, right? Next one is, once your paper published, then you have to cite your paper in further future research articles or journals, right? Journals, right? Suppose if you are doing some extension work to the already published or published work, you can cite your paper in that papers, so that you'll get some citations. Like, are you able to see my screen, dear participants? Okay, so here the main important thing you need to understand, right? So once you have some sufficient research background, that means you have published sufficient papers, or even one paper, a good paper, then your paper will appear in a Google Scholar. Then or else you have to register in a Google Scholar, and there if it is automatically detected your paper, there's no problem. Then else you have to add. Mainly, suppose if there are if you published your paper, very low quality journals or some unreputed journals, your paper might not be able to identify automatically. So that is because your paper must and should appear in a index journals. Then it is easily automatically been identified. So here you need to understand. I think a few of you might have some queries of what is H index, what is a I-10 index, because some organizations they're focusing mainly and mainly on H index and I-10 index. Even suppose if you submit your manuscript, suppose if you submit a research proposal for funding agency also, then they'll look they'll see what research background you have. What if so, then what are the citations, what H index, what I-10 index you have, like. So for that you need to understand what is H index and what is high index H index, I-10 index. So H index is the largest number H, so such that H publications have at least H citations. How many publications of you have at least H number of citations? Like suppose you have a three, right? You have three publications. Those citations are more greater than or equal to 3, right? So then that is called as H index. So next, the I-10 index, this is the number of publications with at least 10 citations, right? Like H index, we have some H number of citations, at least H number of citations. I-10 index is the number of publications with at least 10 citations, right? So this is, I think, what was somewhat useful to the new researchers who are not aware of this. And one more thing is citations wise. Suppose if you are what type of suppose if you are preparing your manuscript, you need to follow the references, the style of references you need to follow. Sometimes they might ask you to follow the specific reference style in our bibliography section. So in that case, like where you have to understand what is this MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, like that you have to understand. And suppose one more thing, that is the next part we are going to discuss, that is writing the papers using LaTeX. There you need to create a citation, all collect, you have to collect all the citations. That is like by using a big text, you have to click on the big text, then you will get the information, article information like this. So then you have to make a copy. You can keep all these articles, right, of all this big text of that particular article in a one file, that is a .bib file, so that you can attach attach to your reference section. Next, one more important thing is where you find abstracting, whether, like for example, we are all talking about a Scopus or many other indexing, like. So where you will find in a journal, you go to the journal's home page, there you'll find a section like abstracting and indexing. There you can see what are the indexing, like a computer literature index, like there are science citation index, Scopus index, like that. Then you can check whether which index, right, the journal is following, right. Next, like for example, if you take one data and knowledge engineering journal, which is available in elsewhere, you can also see abstracting an index like a science citation index, Web of Science, Scopus, all these things. And these are, we discussed some metrics to identify good journals, and among those one is SJR. So that is you can visit the SJR website, you can find out the ranks, how they calculated the ranks for each. Like for example, here IEEE transactions on pattern analysis machine intelligence. I think as per my knowledge, IEEE transactions, ACM transactions, they are all highly reputed journals, they are all high ranked journals, right. So I think the initially to publishing the journals in IEEE transactions or ASIM transactions or ASIM computing service as a surveys, it is very difficult. So we start with some other the journals which are good journals with low impact factor, and the journals which are having the starting volumes, right? So these are some findings you can also get from the, right? You can also look based on the regions, context or specific area. And if you want to get a list of journals, you can also visit our Web of Science. Then there you can download the different articles like Science Citation Index journals like that. And like for example, here you can see export systems with applications in elsewhere. This is a journal one, a strong and good journal, highly reputed journal. Yeah, it has an impact factor of 4.292. I think in mostly in computer science and engineering, some other engineering, the impact factors were beyond 10 like that, and some medical journals you look at the impact factor is very high. Like another journal like knowledge-based systems, so this has impact factor 5, right? So don't look at the fake impact factors because that is they're following some misplacement, misclassification of their impact factors. Next one is one important thing you need to understand. Everybody, I think, who are not having the sufficient background or research background, they may have some idea like that. If you want to publish your work, you need to pay for some amount, right? So that is not correct. So there are if you want, that is based on the copyright access. What the agreement you are going to take with that journal, that agreement that they are going to charge the amount. Like for example, open access. So once the review process is completed, so before going to publish your paper, they will ask you to submit a copyright form. In that, you have to choose whether you want to open access or not. So open access means any researcher, anyone who want to read your paper, they can access freely. So that is open access. And without open access means for that. So that is if you opt you publish if you opt, then you need to pay that amount, right? Because you are very much interested to share your knowledge to the all researchers. So for that you need to pay the amount. Else, the subscriber who are interested to look at your article, others who want to read your article, so they may pay the amount. So that is if you are working on a funding agency, then there is no problem. They may sponsor you to publish your work. So then you can opt a open access so that you can pay the amount. So others will access freely. But if you are working individually, if you do not have that funding opportunity, then you can opt for the you can just reject this open access. That means closed access, right? So in that case, you no need to pay the amount, right? So don't go for the paid journals. Like mainly, if they are asking you to pay the amount to publish, and that is, I think, not worthy journals, as per my knowledge is concerned. So this is, you can get the information what is open access, what is a right. So next the next part of this webinar is, and what is the writing documents, that is manuscripts, thesis documents, mainly long documents, large documents, thesis and journal articles or books. And there is a scientific a tool. There are some tools we need to adopt to create a highly scientific professional looking documents. So among one I opted, I have been working on the latex since 7 years, and so I like this latex tool. So I just want to give a small demo that how to and what is the beauty of latex, and how to write some common elements in a latex, and then I'll show you how easy it is, then how what type of quality professional looking documents it is going to generate. So first let us see what is a latex. It is a tool used to create a professional looking documents. It is based on what you see is what you mean. So idea, so you have to focus on the content, right, rather than documenting the computer, because we, while before going to submit to the journal, we need, we while formatting our article, we have to focus on many things like alignments, a figure, positioning of a figure, table positioning, caption of a figure, table captions, page numbers, affiliations, author affiliations, abstract, perform everything, references mainly. We suppose sometimes if you are writing a research literature,
Your voice is not clear.
review article to any computing surveys, some computing surveys. So you, I think you may get a document with 40 pages, or you have to attach some 50 or 60 or 100 references. In that, handling the references, that is editing, right, and citing the references is very difficult task. It kills your huge amount of time. In that case, how the latex is useful, I'm going to discuss. Instead of spacing text on a paragraph, control format, everything, right, everything is done. You need to focus on the content of a document. The rest, the formatting, everything is done, being taken care by the latex. As I said, the why we need to learn the latex. So if you want to create a scientific documents like a books, article, thesis, that is mainly large documents. Suppose if you want to create only single page document, I think not. I do not recommend you to use the latex, right? Mainly mathematics mainly, because they have some different packages to nicely typeset your equations. So I'll show you how different it is, right? That is in terms of Microsoft Word and latex, what is the difference, right? So due to the open there, it has a huge number of packages, right? So there are many journals, they are following this latex to create a templates for submission. Like for example, like if you latex if you want to submit an article to the elsewhere or any other conference or a journal, they'll give you there are two options to submit your document, in the form of Word file or in the form of latex, right? So you can choose accordingly. So first thing, we before going to see that how it is works, and first thing is to you need to install. You need to have a setup on your machine, and you can install on your machine, whether it is a Mac or Windows or any. You can install the latex. The first thing, that is like a compile. We can say in our programming terminology, a compiler, that is a background software that we need to process this latex documents. The first one is MikTeX. That is, you need to download. It is a free open source, so you can freely download it and you can install it. This is only a two-step process. It may not take much amount of time. You can directly install the complete pack, or you can install. You can download the installer, MikTeX installer. Then you have to connect. If you want to install from the installer, then you have to connect to the internet. Then you can install. So the next one is here while installing, and it will ask you something like that. So like the user option that you can choose. Next another one is if you want to associate with editors, that you can install, right? So once you install a MikTeX that is as a backend, then you can use some text editors like a WinEdit or a TextWorks, or there are different open sources, as well as I am using a WinEdit, that is a licensed version that has many features. Then, and we are going to see what it looks like. Just a minute. I'm going to open this. I'll show you how to and what are the elements we mainly. Uh, then we'll understand much better. Chiranjeevi data my grade be election president. Siru Parni. Very small letters. దాంట్లో చూడండి. So dear participants, I shared a new screen that is a WinEdit LaTeX document. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes,
So
sir.
please confirm in chart window.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, link is not working.
Yeah, that will be shared soon, right? Just wait for a moment. Wait for a moment. So now let us focus how to create the LaTeX documents, how to create your, write your journal articles or thesis mainly, and how useful it is. Then you'll understand at the end. So first, suppose here I'm going to start with the section that is called as, this is a LaTeX document I opened, and that's name is, there are some other, let me close all those documents which are not useful for this context. I have been using this LaTeX since the past 7 years. I am preparing my PPTs, most of my PPTs, and mainly the journal articles using the LaTeX. So then I'm going to show you, and just please pay attention here. And there is mainly first each LaTeX document has a preamble part, that is before a begin document. Before begin document, whatever we have, this is comes under the preamble. There we have to so we have to specify the document class. So like this is, for example, a letter paper, 2-side, the document class is article, right? And these are that some other parameters you need to pass, like a font size is 12 pd, letter paper, and the 2-side. Sometimes you want a 2-side, sometimes you want a 1-side, single side, that you can give as inputs to this document class. So first, this is the first one in the preamble. Next, there are many, you need to use the packages. Suppose the basic LaTeX version comes with basic packages. So you need to, if you want more, if you want to enhance more, and if you want to use more features of it, and you can use those packages. Like suppose if you want to include a graphics, if you want to insert an image, if you want to include if you want to insert high quality graphics in your document, you have to use a package called as a graphics. So that you can add like this, use package graphics. Right. So next one is there are different packages you can use based on your requirement. And next one is, and you can also create a separate folder for your all images also. Suppose if you are drafting your thesis, so that thesis may have some sections like 4 or 5 sections. So keeping all the information images or the relevant content in a single folder is, and handling is very difficult. In that case, you can separate according to the chapter. You can keep all the relevant stuff in that particular folder, and that is becomes very easy to organize. So next one is the title. You can add what is the title of your document and what the name of the author, and next one is the date. So if you want to add a date, you can specify the current, whatever the date you want, else you can specify. If you want a current date, also you can use a date command, LaTeX, get a current date. That means once you process your LaTeX, then you'll get a, and which date you process your LaTeX, you'll get that date, right? Next one is the second, after the preamble. Next, the remaining entire is enclosed within the begin document command and end document command, right? So begin document and end document command. In that thing, right? Is it clear? So entire thing is enclosed within the begin document command and the end document command.
There is a
So
voice
if you want
break,
to,
sir. Not clear, sir. Voice
is it my
break.
voice is breaking? Is it my voice is breaking?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it fine now?
Yes, sir.
Now it's fine.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So that is if you want to print the title of your document like along with your author details and data title author details like that, you can simply use a make title command. So then it is going to display whatever the content, whatever the matter you want on the title page. So the next one is one important element in this LaTeX is text section, that is bold, italics, and underlining the particular document.
Sir, again it started breaking, sir.
It's again
Continuously
breaking.
it is breaking, sir. Continuously.
Okay, just a minute.
Sir, you muted yourself. You muted yourself, sir. Chiranjeevi, sir.
I'm checking, sir. Now my voice is clear, dear participants.
Yes, sir.
Please
Clear,
confirm.
sir. Clear, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So bold, italics, underline. Like in a Word, Microsoft Word, we bold the text by just there are some GUI options. You can directly select a particular text and you can click on that bold tab. That is tool. Then it will be bolded, right? Italics, underline. But here we have some commands like a text BF, that is bolding. To italics, you can emphasize it, and underline you can use a command underline. So you can also keep, and if you want the list of if you want to find out the topics like a list, if you want to create a list like an ordered list, unordered list, or if you want to customize your list. So ordered list means, and if you want to order like 1 2 3 4 like that, or if you want to begin from any number, that is you can customize it. So there are the elements, that is the commands which are available in LaTeX is begin itemize and end itemize. So this itemize, begin itemize and end itemize environment is used to create a list. Like for example, bullets. You want to give bullets to your points. Then you can use a begin itemize and end itemize. Next. And you can also adding images, like because while creating your articles you need to add images. So that we already used a package called as a graphics. So then we have to use a command include graphics followed by here name of this image, right? Here there is no extension, so it first looks for the supported image, supported format like a PDF, whether it is a format PDF, whether it is a JPG, whether it is a PostScript, right? EPS or EMFI, any format that looks right. So otherwise, if you want to specify, you can use like for example PNG format you want to access. In that case, next. That's the way you can include your graphics, that is images, in your article. Next one is sections. You can use a section, subsection, different levels. Like here I used a section. The name of the section is captions, labels, and references, right? If you want a subsection, you just type a subsection. Then you can give the name of that section, right? So this is a way you can create a subsection, and you can also create a paragraph, subparagraphs, etc. The main thing you need to understand as a researcher is if you inserted a figure and we have to give a caption to that figure, then labeling it, because whenever you refer that figure, the label should appear in that. Once you click on that figure, and that should move redirected to that particular figure, right? If you want to incorporate that features, and you have to label the figure, like for example here in this see this is a way you can insert a figure in your article, like begin figure, this is a H is stands for the position where you want to place your article, whether you want to place on top of your page, whether you want to place on bottom, middle, like that you can decide. There are different options available. You can go through those all options, right? So you can place your graphics wherever you want. So some, because some journals they ask you to all the figures should be appear on top of a page, all the figures should appear on bottom, like that. So in that case it will be useful, right? Because setting every figure and to the bottom and to the top, it is difficult, so that you can simply use options, placements, right? Figure placement options. Next, labeling, that is a figure, and whatever the labels you want to follow, you can give, right? So there is no restrictions, but you need to follow some conventions, right? And to create those labels. You can refer your figure inside the text, like figure mesh 1, This is a way you can refer, right? Once you refer like this, then it automatically takes that figure number or a figure reference number, right? So that is for the beauty of LaTeX. So next is creating a list, that is ordered list, unordered list. So we already discussed ordered list. Unordered list is, we use another environment called as enumerate. Enumerate, that is begin enumerate and enumerate, and we use a sequencer command that is called as item for both unordered and ordered and customized, then followed by the text you want, right? For example, here it is going to display one, the number 1. This is the first entry in your list. Second, the less numbers increasing, like that. Next, if you want to create your custom, and the sequence should be followed by this within the square brackets, what type of numbering you want to give, that you can specify here. That is a way of customizing your list. Next, adding, that is very, very important thing, is a maths. You can do the maths, that is in text maths, or you can create separate maths, that is you will get a equation number. So you can if you want that is in text mode, if you want to insert your equations in the insert mode, then you have to use, that should be that code, that equation should be enclosed with a dollar sign. Next, lot of equations you can write it. Next, abstract, there is a subsection you can also incorporate like abstract, and it takes care of the formatting your abstract, right? Like begin abstract and end abstract, you can just simply copy and paste your abstract content inside these commands. Paragraphs, new paragraphs, chapters, subsections we already discussed. Next one is like all this. Next important thing is tables. Creating a tables, that is another important, right? Like figures. So you have to create a table, and if you that, right? Suppose sometimes it is very difficult. I think it may not look good if you prepare a table and attach it to your article. So the better way you can create a table by using your Tableau, the command begin Tableau, end Tableau. There you can create a command, right? Within the here these C's stands for alignment, central alignment. Each cell, the text should be aligned centrally, and each field is separated with a end, and the new line, the next row will be started with a new line or double backslashes. This is the way. I'll also show you the very easiest way, right? And this is another way of creating tables, and you can also change. You can also place position, right, where you want to place your table, right? You can give a table caption similar to the figure and also label it, right? So that is a way. Next, one of the beauty is, suppose if you are working on a thesis, that thesis might have different sections, subsections of different, right? It is very difficult in a Word to list out the topics, that is a table of contents, a list of figures with page numbers, list of tables with page numbers, everything, right? So that you can do with a single command, like a table of contents. It is going to list out all the contents in your document, like a thesis, right? Then you can also use a list of figures, list of tables also. Then it collects it and displays how many figures you have, what are those, and their number, right? The sequence number, in which section it is, and the page number. It displays all the list of figures. So that is the beauty of LaTeX, right? Because it is difficult for us to do it manually, because it takes a huge amount of time. I don't know whether it has that many features in our Word or not, right? So this is, and these are like another important, and the last the important one is LaTeX. That is how it handles the bibliography. That is references. Suppose I'm going to have my thesis. I'm going to include some 200 and 250 references. So if you start working on Word document, if you have to cite your references in your text, right, inside the text. So in that case, sometimes after some time you may add some other references, or sometimes you may delete the references. In that case, suppose if you are giving a number like 1 to 200, suppose at number 90, if you want to delete a reference, then you have to change the remaining all their numbers, right? So that is a headache. Even like in a text formatting also, if you adjusted a content in a page, and that may affect the rest of the pages also. In that case, you need to check all the rest of the documents. So that is and one more beauty that is to handle the references with the LaTeX is you can keep whatever as a PhD scholar or a PG scholar. If you're working on a research problem, start, and you might gather some references, then keep all those references in a one single file, and you can use that file for whatever the papers you communicated, and whatever the thesis. I think thesis might finally you are going to use all the references, right? Suppose if you are writing a paper, then if you want a subset of references, don't create a subset, and you can directly use it. It is going to take only the specific references, right? So that is, so for that you need to create a one bib file like this. This is a sample bib file that I created with 4 references. This, if you want to get this, you can, I already explained, right? I already shown how to get this bib text of each paper. Then copy all those bib texts, whatever the references you referred, and you please make a list of all those references, and save with a .bib file, right? Like, suppose here I kept some references. Here you can change accordingly whatever wherever you interested. Suppose here the paper, here this is a key we are going to use to cite in a text, right? Ahmad 2009 efficient, right? So it is, there is a one pattern to identify this. Ahmad is a name, the first name, and then 2009, that paper is appeared in 2009. The efficient is the first word of their title, right? Based on this, they created this. Else you can rename this according to your convenient, right? So if you want a cite in a text, that can just copy it and place it in your document like this here. Tilde symbol / cite. This is a command we use. Ahmad, this is a key that I copied from the bib file. Then I am placing here wherever you want to place while citing. Like for example, so and so other proposed this methodology, and you want to cite that reference, then you can add this at the end or anywhere you want, right? Then once you process it, it automatically detects and it will add that reference to your bibliography section. That is a beauty, right? But in a Word, and if you want to add a reference, you first cite in a document, then you have to add at the end also, right? So sometimes you may forget to add at the end, and sometimes you may, right? You may cite it like that. So those are the difficulties, right? So if you are using a references, you need to run your text file, then your references will get automatically added in your thesis, right? So now I'm going to run the this file here. This is I'm going to run here. There is an so there is, you can find it, and one more option which is available, that is compile selected, right? Sometimes your document, suppose you are creating a huge document. In that case, every time compiling entire document is a time taking process. So to avoid that, you have some other compile option, that is compile only the selected portion of the text, the content, right? In that case, you can do it. So I'm going to compile, and just click on this. All you can click on this PDF textify. That means it is directly generating a PDF. So I'm going to run it and just have a look. So if there are no errors, then it successfully generates a PDF. That is, I think that is, this is a basic LaTeX code I used to show the demonstration, I think. So this is a document, that is a PDF. Are able to see the PDF which is generated by this LaTeX? Dear participants, please confirm in chat window.
No, sir.
No, sir, you have to share it again. You have to share the screen of the PDF.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the PDF I generated, right? Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, now we could see, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so this
Yes.
is the title I given is a first document. Author name is Dr. Chiranjeevi Manike, and I just given June 2020. That is, I customized the date. Else, if you want automatic date generation, you can use a date command, right? So this is, and we have created. We just used some commands like bold, italics, and underline. And this is the text once we execute, once we compile the document, and the text looks like that. This is one image I inserted because it's not looking quite high quality images, right? So that you have to take care while creating your mainly the manuscripts, research articles, or thesis documents, right? You need to create high quality documents, right? That is a very, very important one, right? So this is another image I just attach it to this. An ordered list, mainly order, like bullets. If you want to bullets, you use the commands like a begin and itemize, end itemize. Then you'll get a bulleting like this. Ordered list, if you want to get 1, 2, 3 number ordering list, you can use a begin enumerate and a end enumerate. You can also customize your list like by using, that is the item slash item sequence that is followed by the customized number within the square bracket. So this is another, that is where you create a customized list. You can also add math, right? Like for example, this is adding a math inside the text, right? That should be enclosed within the double. Next one is you can outside the text. Then it gets automatically the equation number. No need to worry about the numbering equation numbering, right? Like the references, we can also cite the reference number also if you give the label, right? Label to that equation, right? These are so mainly beautiful equations being generated if your paper has a huge mathematics, right? The paragraphs, chapters, sections. This is a text I just didn't format it well. I just and this is a table that is generated by using a tabular command. You can also add borders and captions, labels. So one more important is a table of contents, right? It is with a single command, that is a table of content. It is going to list out all the content, right? Is the sections, subsections, what are their page numbers, right? You can also give a reference to this. Once you click on that, you can go to that particular page. So that feature also we have in LaTeX, right? And let's come to the last. That is mainly one thing we need to focus is the quality. What is the different? What I discussed is the quality of a document. You can see, you can observe here. Here I just try to add the 2 images, and the first image is that is I created a PNG image I attached, and the next image is a EPS, encrypted PostScript encapsulated PostScript image that I attached to this. You can see here, and this the right side image looks very high quality images, right? So if you even go for printing also, then you will see the difference, right? So that is the beauty of LaTeX, right? Finally, that is very important thing, that is references, right? I didn't prepared any. I just copied whatever the big text then and kept in a reference, that is a bib file. I just used like that is Ahmad 2009 efficient, the first word of that title. Then it automatically attaching that references. So no need to worry about order. Like sometimes you may change the order. In that case, you have to go back to the reference section and you have to change order accordingly. So that is a very difficult. So my suggestion is you need to focus on the content rather than the formatting. That is mainly the purpose of using LaTeX. So one and I think you might have some doubt, like writing all this code, right? That is, it looks like HTML code. I think it's somewhat difficult, but there is a goodness for you. Like for example, if you want to insert, you can insert like this. For example, list, if you want to insert, I think I have to share my screen. Right? Okay. So now I think no need to write all this begin enumerate, end enumerate like that. Suppose if you want to create a list with 5 items, you can go to the insert tab and you have to choose itemize or enumerate or description, or you have to, if you want to insert a table, there are the different environments are available in the GUI, right? You can directly use those environments to make to reduce your time of and you can simply copy and paste your text. And one more suggestion is, while creating a tables and equations, I think it is somewhat difficult to type in this editor. In that case, you can go to the online editors. LaTeX equation editors are available. So there you can create your the equations as per your document, and then copy that equation and paste it here. I think that is a more efficient way to write equations in your document. And another and the last I want to discuss, that is the tables. You can also use a online table generator, LaTeX online table generator. There you can, because again it is creating a tables in this LaTeX. Suppose if your table has a huge data, huge number of columns or rows like that. In that case, it is difficult to write everything by hand, right? In that case, you can go to the online LaTeX table editors. There you can create your tables as per your convenience, like Microsoft Word, how you are following. There you can select number of cells, you can format accordingly, you can copy and paste in that, and you can generate a LaTeX code, and you can please attach that code into this document and run it. So those are the advantages, and these are the differences. Just a little compared to the Microsoft Word. Thank you. The presentation is over, and I'm ready to take any queries. If you have any queries, and please ping me in chat window, or else you can speak.
Yes, sir. I have a query. Can I ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. So my query is that you've mentioned about the references that will come as an end note. But
Yes.
if we have to put footnotes on each and every page, like I'm from law background and we have to add footnotes. And in case the reference is repeated again, we use super or ibid. So how do we use that in LaTeX?
So that there is a package to use a footnote also, because while I use that feature of package while creating my synopsis, there we have to add some